The Clown, a new class from the developers. This is a scout tree class that works really well with the current scout classes. It is a dagger wielding class with the ability to excel at both close combat and range abilities. Its main focus is daggers, but with certain build combinations, we're seeing great results among the community weekly boss raids as two possible branches for Clown. We have both Assassin, BulletMarker, followed by Clown, and then we have Assassin, Rogue, and Clown. I won't be covering BulletMarker. It's not because it's my personal favorite or anything. It is really top tier DPS, but mainly it is one of the more popular builds that cost more than the average player. That being said, I went for a more classic build that focused mainly on daggers only. So for today's episode, we will deep dive into the Assassin, Rogue, and Clown build. But before we begin, I want you all to hit that like button and subscribe, because that really goes a long way in telling me that you are interested and allows me to produce more content for subscribers and viewers like you. So Clown skills. What kind of Clown skills to get? Well, to start off, we're going to discuss a bit about the Scout class. So within Scout, you want Cloaking at 4. And then you keep Dagger Slash at 5 because this build focuses primarily on dagger attacks. Then you want to keep Double Attack at 1. We're no longer viable AA builds. And then Free Step at 5. In terms of attributes, I kept it at 50 for now, and definitely max it out when you have the attribute points for it. Now the next class is Rogue, and it is as follows. You want 10 at Lacrimometer, 15 at Backstab, 10 within Feint, 5 within Sneak Hit, nothing in Invasion, and then one of our main skills is Knife Throw at 5. In terms of attribute investments, you want Dagger Attack, Dagger Mastery Stun Attack, Backstab for massive bleeding, max out Knife Throw Enhance, max out Backstab Enhance. You want the increased range for Lacrimometer along with the Escape Art. And then finally, there is the Knife Throw Zenith. Now, this is actually really good when you're in a CM, when you're dealing with AoE mobs. So let me show you real quick. Let me turn this on. And the way it works is you perform a circular movement knife throw, and it is an AoE. And it's actually really good when you're trying to clear certain mobs. And with the Phantom Blade, this allows you to throw knives further. Now, let me clear this real quick. So, like I was saying, with the Knife Throw Zenith on, instead of a single target, it becomes an AoE target. And when you have the Phantom Blade on, this allows you to throw knives again. So really, it's really good for leveling, honestly. So going back to the build itself, if we're turning this off, it becomes single target. But before I could turn that off, I need a cooldown on it too. Let's see here. Okay, so it becomes single target, but applies a debuff, and this debuff is actually really good against single target boss, and that is the Bullseye debuff. Basically, it decreases the enemy's critical resistance and block by 20%. They cannot evade your melee physical attacks, and it increases your damage by 30%, and it inflicts a 5-second healing reduction on hit. So this is ideal when it comes to things like Tahasha, especially when you fail to kill one of the candle spiders that heals Tahasha. And not only that, but with Phantom Blade, you can still throw knives with this each time you do knife throw. Alright, so that being said, let's move on to the Assassin. So for the Assassin, we have Hasisas. It's a potion that you drink that increases your physical attack capability and attack speed and critical attack. Typical enhancements, buffing, Behead kept at 14, Instant Acceleration at 1, Hallucination Smoke at 10, Piercing Heart at 10, Annihilation at 5. In terms of attribute investments, Hasisas at 50, Piercing Heart Arrest duration increases duration of the Piercing Heart Arrest debuff. And what is the Heart Arrest debuff? Basically, you are ignoring the enemy's 50% of their defense, ideally more damage. Another debuff that you have to apply on your enemy along with Knife Throw. Hallucination Smoke, Reality Shock, basically deals damage at the end of the hallucination. So once it ends, you do damage. Annihilation Enhance, Intensify Wound for Annihilation, basically applying twice the critical rate to bleeding enemies, so keep bleed on the enemy, and then you could do more damage. Annihilation Exit Scene, maintains stealth mode, and then you basically have increased movement speed. Typically that is turned off when you have Commission to Kill. Commission to Kill is actually a very important art that you do want to get, and that is for what it does is it applies an assassination target debuff for 20 seconds to a specific enemy, and that is locked on. Especially when you're trying to behead, it will automatically teleport you behind that enemy. And what it does is it allows increased 25% dagger damage. So when, let's say, where's behead? Behead, swing your daggers forward and towards enemies. Attack enemies will suffer from behead bleeding. So bleeding, again, with Hallucination Smoke and Piercing Heart, along with Knife Throw, allows more damage. So a lot of debuffs that you want to apply on your enemy. Another art to get is 2x slash with instance acceleration. And all of this is really optional, but I kept them mainly because I had the attribute points to invest. So feel free to invest based on whatever you have available. Now the other art I got was Annihilation High Speed. This is situational. The way it works is you lose your iframe, right? And the iframe for Hallucination Smoke is basically you don't take any damage when you have this on, and this lasts 5 seconds. You'll see this a lot with typical assassin builds, especially in PvP. But the moment you have this art on, you attack faster, you attack up to 10 enemies, and it's actually great for endgame content like Singularity and Challenge Mode. So really, when it comes to against bosses, I have this off, but with leveling and Challenge Mode content, I usually leave this on. Last but not least, we have our Clown build. And the way it works here is I have 15 into Spinning Knives, 15 into Replica, 15 into Climax, Trick or Treat at 5, and Fatal Roulette at 1. Now you might be wondering, where did I get all these skill points? Well, when you get to 460, from 440 to 450, and from 450 to 460, you get skill points at the Clypedia or Orsha Magic Association NPC. Make sure you claim your leveling rewards to obtain these skill points. That being said, let's get right into it. Spinning Knives, 100. Fatal Roulette, Art Infinity. Get that. Climax, you want Bleeding. Again, Bleeding is a debuff, definitely required. The Art's Spinning Knife Juggling is an interesting one. Now, the way it works for this Spinning Knife one is, this is what it is. Whenever you're moving around or attacking an enemy, so let me see here. We have Spinning Knife, so I'm gonna throw it once. And whenever you're running around, it should somehow proc, I believe. Might be wrong. Come on, proc. There are certain requirements for it to proc. Unfortunately, I don't really know it, but the final damage of the Spinning Knife decreases by 50%, but gives damage to nearby enemies 3 consecutive times every 10 seconds. The requirements for this skill to be activated: SP is required. Enemies within 150 does not activate unless in combat. Does not activate during cloaking. Okay, I mean, okay, I'm in combat. There you go. All right, so it's an ongoing, basically an attack that just throws knives automatically. And the great thing about this is you're dropping pocket knives. Now, what are pocket knives? Well, that's a great question. Pocket knives are actually these little magic circles of knives that you're dropping. And the way it works is the more pocket knives you have on the floor, the more damage you do. So then we have Trick or Treat, which is either trick or treat. Now, the way Trick or Treat works is you have a debuff, which is trick. You ignore the enemy's defense by 4.8%, duration 15 seconds, or the treat, it's a buff. Ignore defense and clown skills by 14.5%, and a pocket knife duration technically remains up to 10. So a buff is actually really good, but it's very situational. So the typical combination is you want to start with spinning knife, which drops pocket knives, then trick or treat, hopefully you'll drop pocket knives, and then replica, which allows you to set multiple pocket knives. Alright, now keep this in mind, you're having a lot of pocket knives now, okay? Fatal roulette, you spin and you drop more pocket knives. And last but not least, with our clown vivora ecliptic blades. I like to call it epilepsy blades because just sounds better, right? So what it does is it gives damage by throwing equal number of daggers as pocket knives in front of by Climax. So the Climax skill. Climax throws a dagger continuously to damage the enemy. If the pocket knife is on the ground, 2 pocket knife flies to the target and gives damage every strike of Climax. Think about that for a second. If you have a bunch of knives on the floor, they all go flying, right? So where would I have a great example? Let me see. Let's try this before I kill it. I'm probably not gonna end up killing everyone here. Let's do something with that. That's a lot of knives. I think a better example would be against a boss. But typically that is your combination. You know, if you're wondering about skill rotation, what to do, especially with clown, you want to start with the spinning knife, trick or treat, replica, set your fatal roulette to 1 or 2 seconds. You don't have to set the whole time unless you're doing CM, followed by climax. Alright, so let's try that again. Throw some knives, set some pocket knives, throw some of this. I should probably buff, right? Yes, I should. So once you have your skill points invested, your buffs are basically sneak hit, hasisas, double attack, and free step. That's your main buff typically. You know what? We can try it on this dude, the elite. Not too bad. Definitely could be better, especially against bosses. With the debuffs and single targeting, it might do a lot better. But remember, we're not really running an assassin, BulletMarker, clown build. Alright, I think that it's also good in its own way, but I just didn't like the mechanics where you had to use both a sword and a gun and swap both back and forth. I think that's a little bit too much in my gameplay style. And it kind of takes away the fundamental appreciative, it's not even a word, but to appreciate the clown. I think ideally you want to play as a knife or dagger class. I mean, that's where the real value, if you want to role play this in that sense, is. But let's see if I can show it here. Not too bad. So the next question is, what type of arts should I prioritize? I would say get knife throw zenith. So let me go back here. You want to get knife throw zenith. Then you want to get hallucination smoke, specifically commission to kill. And then you want to get spinning knife juggling. And then you want to get replica trickery. But the way trickery works is it allows you to teleport when you throw a knife, just like that. It is not really necessary, but it's good to have, which is why it's last. Especially if you need movement skills, I would say get it. And then what skills to invest first? I would say invest on the skills that you're mainly using. And basically the rotation that I have, the rotation that I mentioned earlier, is knife throw, trick or treat, replica, climax, backstab, and fatal roulette. Now I did talk a lot about certain skills and most of it was knife throwing, but let's go back to the fundamentals, right? Let's go back to our main skill, daggers. All right, so daggers, phantom blade, changes 3 basic attacks after knife throw to throwing dagger. We already know that. But With this specific Vivora, when it's level 4, you have final damage increase specifically for backstab. A lot of your damage a lot of the attacks that you'll be doing, especially when most of your knife throwing skills are on cooldown, is actually backstab and double slash and behead. And most of your damage is going to come from this as well. So you have dagger slash, which is not really max yet, and then you have hallucination. Let's put that, and let's do a behead. It's going to send me directly behind the enemy that was targeted with the debuff. So really, you want to also invest deeply into backstab, enhance this as well, and then obviously enhance upgrade eventually. But most of your damage in terms of enhance upgrade will probably come from Climax, especially if you already have the Clown Vivora. Now, moving on to equipments. Alright, in terms of equipments, what I have here is the 7-0 Desnai set. From what I understand, and probably most of you already know, is it is good for Singularity and Challenge mode. And that is really all it is for. But mainly, it's either this set or the Glacial Agenda set. And the Glacial Agenda is for mainly bossing. I won't go into details of both sets, but I will go into what is the consistent static setup between both sets, and that is you want your fixed Ichor or Ichor, and that is crit rate, dex, strength, con. The other combination with this is definitely get some offsetting, medium type or leather target offsetting. This provides more defense. And then the other is the demon set, right? And that is Zebernara's, or rather Overlord Raid. Basically, this is a proc passive or active attack that occurs every 50 seconds whenever you do damage. It basically increases your damage 30% per part. And so with 4 parts, you're increasing your damage by 120%. The other is the Balenta Legend set. That is something you applied from the Alchemist. All of this, if you're not sure what the heck I'm saying, go down to my description, click on that how to craft endgame equipment guide, because that will have the information required for new players to get into Ichoring and crafting endgame equipment. Weapons. Balenta, Glacial Agenda Sword, with Vivora Coordination. I have accuracy and crit rate currently set up. The other Ichor that I have for this is actually Strength, Crit, Con, Dex. And that's another Ichor that I can use. And then moving forward, we have the Balenta 7-0 Desnai Dagger. This has a higher value, mainly because the Balenta is level 440. Glacia, you know what? It's just Balenta 7-0 Desnai tends to have a higher value, especially when you're rolling your random Ichors, which is actually permanent on this specific item. That being said, what I have here is the Phantom Blade Vivora. I expect this to probably go up in price after this video. So if you can, get your hands on it now before it's too late, because it's actually really cheap and easy to build. So then you have Annihilation skill gem on this. I don't have a skill gem on this one, but they definitely try to get Dex, Strength, Con, Crit on this as well. Now the other item that I have that I tend to swap is the Glacial Agenda Dagger with Epilepsy Blades. That is the Clown Vivora, and I do not have any skill gem on this one. I do have skill gems though on the following item, and that is on the Glacial Agenda set, right? And the way I have it is Knife Throw and Backstab. These Frenzy and Control Blade, that's for my Blossom Blader. I don't know what other top or bottom skill gems I can use, honestly. Like, if you guys have an idea of what type of skill gems I can put into this specifically for Rogue and Assassin, let me know in the comments below, because I haven't come across any skill gems that really works with top and bottom. It seems like IMC loves putting skill gems into leather and and boots, leather gloves and boots. Like, come on, what is going on here? Now, other items I'm using is the Caroline Pickett set. Definitely this is a work in progress to upgrade to Luciferi. I have a Scout Seal at level 3. Divine Arc Retribution, which will be level 8 hopefully. The parents equipment, Fox Mask, basically enchantment, try to get physical attack crit rate. Oh, you know what? And the other thing to mention is the Awakening. Get magic defense for sure. Magic and physical defense, that goes a long way. If you can, get critical, get that as well. In terms of enchantment, like Jewel Enchant, you want critical damage, physical damage decrease, magical damage decrease, critical resistance, boss damage for sure, and crit rate for sure. If you happen to come across a main and sub-weapon damage, that's great as well. Evasion is also great. I mean, you can't go wrong here, honestly. Now, what you're seeing here is the Res Sacred Relic. This is quality endgame stuff. It's level 458. Honestly, I am clueless as to how they're gonna approach this. And we both know when Arc first came out, it wasn't even at this level. It was a cube. This is I don't know what it is, like a hexagonal, octagonal cube thingamajig, and that just changed the system completely. Who knows what's next? In the next 6 months, we're gonna see a triple crown or some crap, right? We won't know. I mean, right now, people are kind of going crazy and wild over a specific gem that lets you teleport and a black gem that lets you teleport as well. I don't know. If you guys know what's great about this relic, let me know in the comments below, because I, for one, am clueless and I don't think it's that amazing, honestly. So, cards. I'm using a Baruda, level 6. I'm using the mutant cards, Werewolf, which allows 30% more damage from the behind. Increase 30% chance of registering a rare attack, Rashua card, 2 Zara, and 1 Lueli, which provides physical and damage defense. In terms of assisters, I'm using Nebulas, 2 Legend. I think they're Legend. Yeah, they're Legend, and 1 Fiend. And the way this passive works is whatever's in the primary slot is your main passive skill. So we have physical damage increased by 928, evasion increase, beast combination, mutant combination, legendary combination, damage and ready zone plus 6%.